We're now live, Chair.
Thank you. Start. Right. Good morning and welcome to this meeting of the Strategic Licensing Committee. I'm obliged to inform you that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded. Members of the public will be able to view the meeting using the link on the agenda. Really apologies.
Apologies from Councillor Viv Parry.
Thank you. On to item 2, minutes of the previous meeting. I'd like to approve the minutes of the previous meeting as a true record. I'll move them. Second. Moved by Peter Broomhall, seconded by Chris Schofield. And I've just lost. Just lost my computer. Right, are there any item 3 public question time?
No public questions, Chair.
Thank you. Move on to item 4. Members are reminded that they must declare their disposable pecuniary interests and other registrable and non-registrable interests in any matter consider a meeting as set out in Appendix B of the Members' Code of Conduct, and consider if they should leave the room prior to the item being considered. Any items? No. Move on to item 5, which is the Hackney Carriage and Private Hire Licensing Fees 2022-23. The report of the Transactional and Licensing Team Manager. Thank you. Over to Annie Lever.
Thank you, Chair. The report that I brought for you today is in respect of the Hackney Carriage and Private Hire licensing fees. The licensing fees as a whole are brought before this committee, and the Hackney Carriage, as you've seen before, and the Hackney Carriage and Private Hire ones are subject to a separate consultation phase with the trade. So that consultation was undertaken with the trade. It gives the opportunity for the trade to object to any of the proposed fees that are in the report. The consultation went out. I've had one objection, which is in the report for you all to see, and the information is there. And I know you've all read the report, so I'm not going into it in detail. I'm open to any questions, but there's 3 options that we've concluded whilst we've been looking at the objection. For members to take into consideration, I think those are the main points. So they're at 5.3 in the report. So based on the recommendation for the objection that we received, we could remove the line for transfers, which is one of the 2 objections that we've contained in the representations that's made. It's one of the 2. We could remove the actual line itself and not have a fee for transfers. But that would not allow the trade to have their own decision. Traditionally, transfer fees have been set slightly lower, but worked out to be calculated slightly lower than the actual new application fee. A transfer is no real difference to a new application, and the Hackney Carriage and Private Hire licensing policy states that. I know that in the objection was alluded to the fact that it's a different thing and it's illegal for us to do that, but actually it's the same process, it's the same thing. It's just a word that is used all the time by the trade. It's a trade word that they use, so we use that to make it more simple for the trade. But actually the actual process is granting of a licence, so there's nothing that contradicts the law in what we're doing. It just allows the trade that if you do need to transfer the vehicle partway through the licence, you have the opportunity to do it. Traditionally, or up to now, it's been slightly less while we've done the calculations of the fee. My worry is because these fees are rolling fees, if we take the line out completely, it then no longer gives the trade a chance in the future to actually have that choice of a lower fee that calculates out to be a lot less when we do the fees and charges for next year. So, leaving the line in, yes, it's not ideal for this financial year, but going forward, it gives the trade that opportunity to as the calculations go forward and recalculated, it potentially could be less in the new financial year. So that's option one. Members could set different fees today as the objector has proposed, a lesser fee. That would not coincide with the matrix that we use for calculation of all licensing fees. We set the matrix down in 2013 and we look at every single license type every year and work out process by process how much it is for us to actual from the receiving an application right the way through to issuing a license and all the processes that are with that, checks that we have to name to verify the person, that sort of thing. Line by line we calculate that, and all of the on costs, so heating, lighting, water, all those things that we have to apportion to that, and the matrix is used for every licence type, and that processing is done in the very same way. So for members to set a different fee today would be not in line with the rest of the fees calculations that we do, and would make that one particular fee stand out alone to the rest, which is not ideal when you're trying to be transparent and calculate things consistently for trade representatives, both within the taxi trade and the other licence types. And the third option is to make no amendments to the fees as proposed at Appendix B, which is my recommendation to members today. And the reason, what I've said, we're going to recalculate going forward, and it potentially could mean that there is a lower fee for the trade to use. We're also moving in the direction of online applications with the new system from April next year, so that will be taken into consideration, which again will exclude the trade at that point in time, with the more automated application process, which is likely to generate less officer time, which means that potentially the fees will be calculated a lot less for 12 months time, the 23-24 year. I'm open to questions if anybody's got any questions on that particular area to do with the transfer fees. Anybody else?
Yeah. When you went out to consultation, how many people did you consult?
We have a legal requirement to put out a notice in the Shropshire Star that covers all areas. That's the legal part of it. But in addition to that, we also email every single member of the trade that we have an email for, to let them know that is out of consultation. And during the whole of the consultations, all the email correspondence, all the members of the taxi team have it as a footer on the bottom of their email. So not only does they have the notice and the initial email that goes out, they have that constant reminder throughout the consultation process, and we also put it on the council's get involved pages as well. So there's a way that the trade representatives and non-trade representatives can feedback through there.
And you only had one objection?
Yes.
Any other questions?
I think I'm minded to recommend that we go for option 3, Mr. Chairman, based on what Wendy's.
Thank you.
Councillor Davis, how many transfers do you deal with per annum, just so we have a rough idea?
I haven't actually got that figure off the top of my head right now. It all depends on cars, vehicles crashing, accidents happening, people wanting to change their vehicles in year, and there's never a definitive figure of how many. It just depends, whether we have a bad winter, there's lots of things that feed into that, and it can be different every year, it can be different every month. So I could go back and I could, email you all and tell you exactly how many we had last year, but it does vary. The main thing is that we have the annual renewal of vehicles, and those are the consistent level, and the transfers themselves are set aside to that. So it's just if something happens to them in the life of their 12-month licence for their vehicle, that we have to then use that. But what would mean, if we took the transfer line out, it would mean they'd have to apply for a new vehicle every single time, and what that is, they have to pay for a new 12 months. So if they crash the vehicle 2 weeks after getting their licence, they would then have to apply for a new licence for another 12 months and pay a new licence fee. Where the transfer one enables them to keep the months remaining on their licence. Up until now, it has been a lesser fee, and the trade have actually opted to do that. It's just, as we are at the moment, the calculations come out of that figure, and that's what's called the trade, one representative from the trade to make that objection.
Nigel.
Is the representative of the objector here today, and did they want to say anything about reading the report? That was the implication there.
The objector did say, as part of their submission, that they wanted to attend. Tim, you notified them?
Their notification, I told them when the meeting was and explained our public speaking, but they never came back to me, so.
If it would help, the council procedure rules only allow for a petition or a statement to be made. There's no, yeah, they can't answer questions.
So I've got, sorry.
Are you willing to reject the proposal?
Right, I was going to say, I've got a proposal from councillor Burkett and seconded by councillor David Evans. If there are no other serious points that need to be made, we'll go to the votes. All those in favour of the officer's recommendation? Thank you, that's unanimous. We'll move on to item 6, the exercise of delegated powers. And again, Andy Davis, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This is the standard report that I bring to you all every time we meet. It gives you an overview of what licences have been processed for the previous quarter or the previous period between the 2 meetings, the types of licences, the renewals, the annual fees, and that sort of thing within there. And I just think it's just ready for you to note, and I'm open again to questions if anybody has got any about the licences that's been processed.
Right.
Oh, hi, Pam.
Thank you. Just looking at the very top section on drivers, and I see that you've got quite a number with warning letter, fines to refuse and revoke for conduct. What sort of issues are we getting there on driver conduct? How is it against normal figures? What is that?
I think it's worthwhile pointing out on this particular one, during the COVID period, we had a number of additional conditions that we put in when we weren't able to meet face to face. So we put additional conditions on some of the drivers to say that, for example, the knowledge test they would have to do within a 3-month period of us having face to face appointments again. And also, this was at the time when we were trying to get things online and get the courses and things online. So there was a period of time where we offered to keep the trade running, additional conditions that would accept that they would do additional courses. So anybody that we've done a mop-up exercise, so anybody that hasn't done the course and has had the letter to say you need to do it and hasn't quite got there yet, have had to go through the panel process in order to encourage them to actually do those things as part of their condition. So it does look like there's a few more, but it's because we've done that mop-up exercise to just catch up with those ones that had these additional conditions through the COVID period.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor
So
Schofield.
can I ask, have all them restrictions been removed now from taxes?
Yes, so where we are at the moment, anybody that was issued a licence during that period of time with additional condition, the condition will stay on their licence until they come to renew it again. But as long as they've met the condition, so for example, done their knowledge test, then that condition has been met and that's fine. And when they come to renew, it will just drop off. It was purely additional ones that we put in because of the pandemic and that non-face-to-face contact, until we got to the point where we could do a lot of the online courses that we've now operating.
Anybody else? Right, I move that we note that report. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Schofield, thank you. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. The date of the next meeting will be on the 22nd of June at 10 AM. And I thank you all for your attendance, and we'll see you then. Thank you.
Thank you. 13 minutes. Is that a record?